Good afternoon, everybody. And thanks for that nice introduction, Roberta. This panel has been on the calendar for a very long time, and I had to stay in this job in order to do this. So I'm really, really glad to be here and to mark World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, which was Father's Day, which I think is a really wonderful way to honor our fathers and our mothers. It's something that we just don't understand well enough, don't talk about, don't discuss, don't know about, and I just wanted to bring attention to it today. The mission of the Division of Elderly Affairs, which you should know, is to preserve the independence and the dignity of Rhode Island's elders and adults with disabilities, and we execute that mission by running programs to keep elders safe, informed, healthy in the community. Basically everything we can possibly do to keep people out of expensive medical and institutional settings whenever that's possible and appropriate. And so in our division on information and referral and our division on elder safety and justice, we do run a couple of programs which I just wanted to bring to your attention today that really speak to keeping elders safe in the digital age. And before I talk about them, I want to mention too that all of the scams and these things that you should be knowing about that come up when we get an alert from the Attorney General's office. We have a wonderful aging network that we send email blasts out with the latest scams to try to get that information in the hands of St. Elizabeth Community, for example, or any other organization you might be a part of, so it's widely known. You didn't mention the jury duty scam. You know about that one? Yeah, I got this call the other day, somebody saying that they were, this was a Saturday, saying that they were with the state police, and they had a warrant for my arrest that they were processing on their desk. I'm thinking, oh my God, what did I do? What did I remember? And I said, what did I do? I said, you failed to appear for jury duty. But I never got a notice. Well, you failed to appear, and if you don't give us, however much the penalty was right now over the phone, we're coming to your house right now with handcuffs, and of course I'm believing it. And I turned it over to my husband, who is an attorney. I said, you have to speak to my attorney. And they hung up. And I looked it up, and it was on the AG's website. It's a thing, so watch out for the jury duty scam. It turns out, just so you know, if you really do miss jury duty, they don't come after you. They rather nicely call you up and ask you if everything's okay and reschedule you for another time. So you should all know that. In our information and referral unit, we have a wonderful program. I love this program called Senior Medicare Patrol. Has anyone heard of this before? Couple of you, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. But this is actually to empower Medicare beneficiaries to fight back against Medicare fraud themselves, because scam artists and organized crime have discovered that the Medicare trust fund is ripe for the taking. And the way they get at it is by using your personal information to sneak charges in on your statement, which you're not responsible for because Medicare is picking up the tab, but they're using your information. And the only people who can pick this up are Medicare beneficiaries yourselves. You're on the front lines of the effort to combat fraud. But you get this monthly statement or a quarterly statement or however your explanation of benefits comes to you, because it's different depending on your product. And it's not a bill, so what do you do with it? You stick it on a table and catalogs and magazines pile up on top of it, or maybe you stick it in a drawer under your piece of paper with all your passwords on it, right? And you don't even open it because you're not responsible for that. But that's what the scam artists are counting on. And so they've somehow maybe gotten a hold of your Medicare information, and they're slipping in little charges for things. An individual therapy session when you went to group therapy, a doctor's appointment that never happened. And this is the best one. I was telling one of my fellow parishioners, Sal Anarumo, about this a couple of years ago when he asked me what I was working on. And he said, no kidding, this happened to me. I didn't know I'd broken my leg until Medicare told me. True story. He'd been charged for an emergency room visit, a surgery, a rehab, everything. Now, in his case, it was a legitimate mistake. It was another person this had all happened to, and they got it all straightened out. But this is what happens. So our program actually trains senior volunteers to read these complicated explanation of benefits, and then to sit with their peers who see something not amiss and go through it with them. We're looking for folks with a financial background, former teachers to make presentations, former accountants. Please sign up. In your bag of goodies, there's a little green book, which is the Division of Elderly Affairs Pocket Manual to Senior Services, and the number for Senior Medicare Patrol is in there. So I urge you to volunteer or to call us up to sit down with someone to go through it. But we do teach people to protect your Medicare information. Like everything else, don't ever give out that number to anyone who isn't a healthcare provider for you. And if Medicare calls up, or you get a phone call, and they say, hi, this is Medicare, and we need to verify a few things, so please give me your number. Medicare has your number. They will not ask you for it. Never give it out over the phone. Then we want you to detect. Read that explanation of benefits. Look for things that didn't happen, and that or that happened without the broken leg that didn't happen. And you can call us at Elderly Affairs and the number in your book, or you can call Medicare and report it. And then we want you to report that. And we have a lot of trouble with older folks who love their doctor, and they see this weird charge, and they don't want to get their beloved doctor in trouble because they have a long relationship. It could be a mistake, like what happened with Sal, and we can clear it up. Could be a one-time thing, and sometimes the doctors are responsible for this fraud. Could be a one-time thing. That's not what Medicare is looking for. They have this whole sort of algorithm that they plug into a computer, and they're looking for patterns and hot spots. And when they get enough reports in a similar area or from a similar provider, then they're going to go in and they'll find something generally pretty bad, and you're going to be saving not only other folks from having this happen to them, but you're on the front lines, as I said, of saving the Medicare trust fund that you're always being scared into thinking is going to be depleted and go bankrupt. You can actually detect against that. So that's just a wonderful program that we have. Can't do it without you. The other thing I wanted to let you know is about how the state deals with elder abuse in all its forms. We have an Elder Safety and Justice Unit, and we run Adult Protective Service to help investigate and resolve cases of elder abuse. Every single Rhode Islander is a mandatory reporter of elder abuse. So if you, I'm going to actually just read you the law because I think it's the most helpful thing to do. Abuse, neglect, exploitation, and self-neglect of elderly persons' duty to report. Any person who has reasonable cause to believe that any person 60 years age of older has been abused, neglected, or exploited, or is self-neglecting, and that means just not being able to take care of themselves in the community, shall make an immediate report to the Director of the Department of Elderly Affairs, tell me now, or his or her designee. In cases of abuse, neglect, or exploitation, any person who fails to make the report shall be punished by a fine of not more than $1,000. Nothing in this section shall require an elder who is a victim of abuse, neglect, or exploitation, who is self-neglecting, to make a report. So you don't have to report on yourself, but if you see it happening, let us know. And so the implications of especially financial abuse, just so you know, are really severe to the elder. Elders who have been financially exploited are 9% more likely to need to go on Medicaid because as a direct result of the abuse. And some of the risk factors for elder abuse are dementia, loneliness and isolation, and also having a family member who's financially dependent on the elder or who has some sort of addiction or mental health issue, and then needs the money. So you need to watch out for that. It's just important to know that elder abuse is not normal. It's not ever normal. And we see it happen largely at the hands of family members. I think what I need to make clear about our statute is we're talking about someone who has a duty to care. So we're not about some random person who's contacting you on the internet, but a spouse, a child, a caregiver who's paid to come into the home, that kind of situation where you really come to depend on this person. I will say too that the banks, and especially the tellers, are wonderful partners with elderly affairs in this, and who really do see changes in patterns, things that aren't quite right, and they call us to take a look. What do? It's a social service response, and we send our social caseworkers, our abuse workers, out to check it out, to see if something is really happening, and to see what kind of safety plan might be put in place. Do two people just need to be removed from each other? Is the family stressed out so that maybe some food assistance or something else is needed? But just what can we put in place? And when there is evidence of a crime, because most abuse doesn't rise to the level of a crime, we get in touch with local law enforcement or the Attorney General's office or both, and they take it from there and they go after the bad guy with all guns blazing. But we try to move in way before it rises to that occasion and just put a stop to whatever the bad things that's happening. So please remember this. Self-neglect too, I want to say as well, if you have a neighbor who you think is hanging around with somebody who is trying to ingratiate themselves and you're concerned about it and you don't know what to do, or if you see someone who isn't bathing that often or maybe isn't eating, that's when you give us a call too, and we send a caseworker out just to see if there's some way that we can support that person so that they can continue to remain in a home and live in the community and not have a terrible downward slide that leads to illness or a terrible crime or having to move into a nursing home. So we look forward to hearing from you at Elderly Affairs with any questions you might have about that, and wish you great safety after learning. I learned a lot today. I'm going right home and telling my teenagers to turn off the locators off their cell phones because I don't want anyone showing up at our house after them. Thank you very much.